I just love the fall and autumn. They call it the autumn here and they call it the fall in the US and Canada. I just love it. I'm going to buy some pumpkins. I've got one pumpkin. I bought one pumpkin, but that's not enough. And I'm going to buy some more and I'm going to get some Halloween stuff because I can't wait for Halloween. It's a holiday that I never used to care about, but over the last few years, I've just been loving Halloween. I watched Michael Jackson's Thriller video every single year on repeat now for Halloween. And I watch ET and I decorated the house last year with Halloween stuff and I just had a ball. And for somebody who is a complete failure, which I am, and I'll tell you why in another podcast at another time. My living area or the living area doesn't look too bad. It's very cozy, it's nice. I've got a lovely rug, I've got TV all set up with all my stuff, I've got my computer set up, I've got candles, flowers, plants. So I've gotten very cozy and I just can't wait till November when I just can't wait till it gets to the real fall because I just couldn't wait to see the back of summer. It was too warm, there was too many flies, there was too many spiders. I just couldn't, I was just really wanting fall to come. Anyway, guys, I'm going to talk about a few stuff in this podcast. Diddy and the baby oil. I'm going to talk about the Menendez documentary on Netflix and the series, and I'm going to tell you the reason why I think that they need to stay where they are. And if you disagree, that's absolutely fine. In fact, my position and my opinion on the Menendez case is very unpopular, and that's all right. Um, I also can tell you that, like I said, I'm not recovering as fast as I want to. I was quite ill on Friday actually, but I'm loving my cozy surroundings. I'm loving the fall. The days are getting shorter. I'm feeling snug in the evenings. I'm lighting my candles and I'm loving how my living space looks. You do know, or the living space, should I say, you do know, I'm really into interior design. That's another one of my hobbies and it's another one of my passions. I love interior design. When I was growing up, my dad didn't care about interior design. He just wanted a widescreen TV. He would buy the biggest widescreen TVs you could find on the planet. The whole world, the whole house could have been crumbling around him, but he had to have his widescreen TV and his gadgets, and his TVs were massive. Once he wanted to install a widescreen TV in my room where I could get all the channels, and because he was going to buy another widescreen TV that was even bigger than the other one. Anyway, this is a start to a podcast that I hope I can give you a little bit of an insight on how I feel about certain things. Apparently, Diddy, whose real name is Sean Combs and who I will refer to as Sean Combs, apparently he has to pay Sting 2 grand per day because he didn't ask Sting for the permission for the rights to use his Every Breath You Take song, which was number one in 1983 and topped the Billboard charts for 8 weeks. I'm getting this from Wikipedia. As far as I'm concerned, Sting is the best songwriter of all time, along with Mariah Carey and Stevie Wonder. I would say they are my three top favorite songwriters of all time, but I think Sting might take the crown. I just think, I've got people that I like to listen to more than Sting, but I think as a songwriter, he's just a genius. He's a poet. And I think Puff Daddy, the original name, that's what his name was when that song was released. I think he did a brilliant song. I think he did brilliant with it by taking that sample and making it into a tribute song. And like I said, he has to pay Sting $2,000 per day and he's still incredibly wealthy and successful. And I think he, apart from music, he has a clothing line. Um, some people say that Sean um, isn't talented himself, but he knows how to surround himself with great talent. Well, I think that is a talent in itself. If you can spot talent and make money out of it, if you know talent when you see it, to me, that's a talent in itself. He might not be the best rapper, he might not be the best dancer, he can't dance, but I like his dancing because his dancing is a celebration of music and his love for music. He doesn't have to be the best rapper. You don't have to be, Madonna's not the best singer in the world, but she's the biggest selling female artist of all time, yet she's not the best singer in the world. So you don't have to be the best singer. You don't have to be the best rapper. You just have to sing songs that people can relate to and people can feel. Um, so what I'm going to say about him, because he's all over the news right now, and I like to make everything that I do as advertiser friendly as possible. So as I'm going to do that, I will be doing that. I will be challenged to do that. There is no way back for Diddy as far for Sean as far as I'm concerned. I think unless a miracle happens or he can buy a miracle, I think this is the end. Um, this is a man that had everything. He has absolutely gorgeous kids. Gorgeous kids. His twins with Kim Porter and the son that he has with Kim Porter, which is a long term relationship he had between 1990 something and I think 2007. It was a long term relationship with this beautiful, statuesque woman who was like an American version of Naomi Campbell, but with softer features and prettier. She passed, and they said it was pneumonia. But she has three kids for him, two beautiful twin daughters, and a son who's also very successful in his own right. And according to many people, they believe that he had something to do with what happened to her. And based upon what I've seen and what I've heard, I wouldn't put anything past him. This is a man who had a beautiful family, who surrounded himself with talent, who had immense wealth, who had everything anyone could ever need, want, and ask for, and he ruined it. As far as I'm concerned, that Cassie video, it says everything about him. Unfortunately, unfortunately, he's just not a good person, and that's putting it mildly. And for me, he just deserves to stay where he is right now. He deserves not to be walking around with the rest of us. He might be a great talent. He might have done a lot for the music industry, but he's not a good person. You see that in the way he treats women. I mean, he was with this Kim Porter, who apparently wrote a tell-all book that was number one on Amazon recently, and it was pulled from Amazon. Apparently, she wrote a tell-all book about the relationship between her and Diddy, the long-term relationship that they had, and that's the reason for apparently her demise. But that's speculation. But like I said, I wouldn't put anything past him. As far as I'm concerned, he belongs where he is. This is a man who had everything: beautiful family, beautiful children, any woman he wanted, beautiful women, a fantastic career, surrounded himself with the most talented, the most interesting, um, the most acclaimed people, and yet regardless of all his success, he just could not be satisfied. And I just have no, his mum came out recently, um, defending her son. I've got no time for people like that. He deserves to be where he is. And another um other people that I think who deserve to be where they are the Menendez brothers, Lyle and Eric Menendez. And I'll tell you why. After watching the Netflix series, which went to number one on Netflix, and watching the recent documentary, while I do believe that there were things going on in that house, and I believe the father was not a good man, I think he was successful, but I don't think he was a good person. Just like Sean is successful, but he's just ultimately not a good person. At the end of the day, their parents are not here to speak for themselves. So I think it's unfair to just say their parents were this, so they deserve to be out. The fact of the matter is, they could have left home. They could have gone to live with relatives. They had other options than to do what they did. This is not about what their parents did. It's about what they did, and what they did is undisputed. And The thing about what they did that I don't like is that apart from the fictional stories that they made up, in the aftermath, they went on a spending spree. They went on a spending spree. They spent almost $1 million by the time they were apprehended. And I think one of the brothers even came to London. One of them was in Israel, and they bought apartments, they bought cars, they bought fancy suits and Rolex watches. To me, that is just not on. It's just not right. It doesn't sit well with me. Um, if they had shown some emotion in terms of regret and some sympathy, and if they looked like they were sorry after, in the aftermath, then I would say maybe I could, their case is being reviewed and I don't know what's going to happen. It's up to the courts. But for me personally, what they did, they should stay where they are. Um, I would love if they would write a book. That would be great if they wrote a book and explained, what happened and what was going on in the house. I do think that there were things going on in that house. I think their mum was probably passive, and I think their father put unsurmountable challenges on them, and I think they had a lot to live up to as the daughter of a very successful person who came here with very little, and who, my dad came here with very little. He studied, he got his degree, he got a good job, he earned good money. I went to a private school, I lived in a nice house. As the daughter of somebody who was very successful, who came from nothing and also had a lot to live up to, I understand how that feels. I understand the pressure. They weren't able to appease their father. They weren't able to live up to his expectations. And I don't think he was a very nice person, to put it mildly. But that does not give them an excuse to do what they did. The other thing I want to talk about briefly is the Nicola B case, which is it actually a case? I watched the Channel 5 documentary a few days ago, and it's not something that I ever researched online. It's not something that I became obsessed with or anything like that. I had mild interest in the case. Okay, I had a very mild interest, but it was not something that I immersed myself in. And as far as I'm concerned, with that, um, I watched the documentary with a few people, and a lot of people were saying that her husband didn't show much emotion, and that he actually reminded them of Scott Peterson and Chris Watts. Um, to me, that's just his personality. That doesn't mean anything. There's no proof that he did anything. However, we don't know. There will always be a mystery in that case because we don't know how she actually got in the water. Um, so for me, that case will always be a mystery. I think she was a beautiful woman. I think she lived. Lancashire looks like a very lovely place. I personally couldn't live in Lancashire. It's just not a place I could live. It's beautiful. The surroundings are beautiful. The houses. I looked at the house prices there. They're very very cheap in Lancashire. The house prices are very very cheap. You can for what you can get in London, you can get a much bigger place for half the price of what you would get in London. Um, but I personally would find it difficult to live there. Um, it's a beautiful place. What I didn't like about the case, the actual Nicola B case, is the fact that they talked about her going through the menopause, which is the fact that she was 45 years old. It's very unlikely she would have been going through the menopause, perimenopause perhaps, but not the actual menopause. Now, I know people can have early menopause, but 45 would be considered relatively early menopause. I know that women go through the menopause at that age. They can do, yes, but it's rare. Most of the women in my family didn't hit the menopause until they were in their mid 50s. But that's my family. Every woman is different. So, but anyway, whether she was going through the perimenopause or the menopause, which is unlikely that she was going through the menopause because she was 45, and that's still relatively young. It can happen, but it's rare. Um, I don't see what that had to do with her disappearance or the fact that she went on a walk. She it was just a normal day for her. She got up, she got ready, she took the kids to school, she went on a walk, and it was just a normal day for her. I don't know what the menopause has to do with it, but it's never. I know that AD covered the case very very extensively, And if it wasn't for Nicola B, I wouldn't know or be associated with or have any, I wouldn't have known a lot of the people that I do now. It is actually through the Nicola B case that I know a lot of the people or some of the people that I do. And that's still through AD, who's very much still it's amazing. AD is always going to be about himself. He never ever changes. It's always he always paints himself as the sympathetic figure. He will never ever ever change, and I think he should just be forgotten about. That's just my personal opinion on AD. He just should somebody that people should just forget, because he's not relevant. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I did the best I could because I'm not feeling well, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on what I think about certain things. Have a nice day, have a nice evening wherever you are, and I'll see you again soon.